Hi, I'm Ashley Cooley, a birth, baby, and sleep specialist and mom of 3. There's so much information out there, right? This show is dedicated to helping you clear out the noise so you can figure out what will work best for your baby and your family. If you're looking to learn more about your baby, gain more confidence in your parenting, and get as much sleep as you can through it all, you've come to the right place. Bringing Up Baby is about to get a little easier. Hey everybody, it's Ashley Cooley. Welcome back to the Bringing Up Baby podcast. We're actually a day late with this episode, and please accept my sincerest apologies. I mean, I don't honestly think that everybody's just dying to listen to these episodes, but I do hope you're getting something out of them and enjoying them a little bit. But I'm apologizing because I just wish I could have brought you all of this amazing info and support sooner, but better late than never, right? So please allow me to introduce our guest today, Jolyn Swain. Jolyn is an owner of Nurtured, Atlantic Canada's baby store, a fellow car seat technician, and mom of 2 boys. She also happens to be a baby-wearing educator, and that's what we're chatting about today. In this episode, we're getting into things like the science and benefits of baby wearing, acknowledgement of baby wearing as a practice culturally around the world, how to wear baby safely, so getting into different positions, types of carriers, and so on, and what can parents do if they find that their baby doesn't like being in the wrap or the carrier. So we're going to get into some troubleshooting as well. And what's extra fun about this episode is that we have a video to go along with it. So we know we can't talk about baby wearing without actually showing you. So head on over to the Bringing Up Baby community. It's completely free. The link is in the show notes, or you can check out birthbabysleep.ca/community. Join us today and you can get access to that video and a ton more. So all right, let's get into it. Here's my conversation with Jolyn. All right. Hi, Jolyn. Nice to see you again.
Hi, Ashley. Thank you for having me.
I'm super excited for this conversation. You and I have known each other for a few years now, and we've been able to partner up and do some work together. And here's just another one that we get to do, and talking about baby wearing. Because when I think about baby wearing, I think about you. I think you're in terms of we're in the same city. So you're like the expert in my mind of baby wearing, and you've got so much knowledge and resources to share. So I'd love to chat with you about it. And I thought maybe we could start with just how did you start with baby wearing? Like what brought you into it and where do you come from, the baby wearing world?
It's true. I love baby wearing. And I'm a mom, I'm a store owner, sure, but I've been a baby wearing educator for well over a decade now. And I love it. I love the advocacy of it. I love the significance in everyone's day of caring for an infant and a toddler and a child and how it impacts life. And it's a really special thing to do. I think it's important though that we take a minute. I do my best. I know that I live on the unceded territory of Mi'kmaq, and what we're discussing today is really special. Baby wearing is nothing brand new. It's not a trend. It's not a fashion statement. It is something that, in honoring these lands and the people who came before us, we also know that those people cared for their infants in many similar fashions to what we're talking about today. And, here I am, a baby wearing educator. There's some funniness in that baby wearing is a new term, but it's certainly something that's not new and it's been practiced for thousands and thousands of years.
Right. Well, you probably needed to become a baby wearing educator because in our culture, we tend to drop those things that have been around for so long for so many reasons. So what has it been like in terms of what's your experience and what you see as especially as a store owner with baby wearing and products in North America? Like what's different here as opposed to in other cultures or countries?
I I mean, even in my own experience, someone gave me my first carrier. I borrowed carriers from friends. And that was, the first introduction to baby wearing. I maybe saw it in National Geographic magazines as that cultural practice. I saw it somewhat in my community growing up as a child, but not a lot of it. And I think there's been plenty of studies that have been done since the 80s and going on that show the carry response of kids and how they adore baby carriers. And we do have another generation ahead of us in North America that certainly practiced and kept it alive and trending.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really neat to see how when people are gifted carriers, they do start to use them and they do start to see the benefits of baby carrying. And they implement it into their everyday. So, going back 18 years ago when I first became a mother, um, maybe it was a transport item, but it really became more of a bonding space and a place where my child could just relax and enjoy the time with me.
Totally. Can we talk about more of those benefits? Because there's so many. You mentioned transport, and that is where I feel like a lot of us tend to go first. It's another way. It is another way to transport your baby from A to B. Not in a vehicle, but walking or whatnot. But there's definitely so many more benefits to that. So can you share some of those with us?
Sure. We know that it's wonderful for mental well-being. Everyone relaxes when a baby carrier is used properly and comfortably and safely. The baby relaxes. There's less crying. We know that it helps digestion when we start moving and baby is being held chest to chest. They have those nice little stimulations of the digestive system happening. And I'm not medical, but as a baby wearing educator, I get exposed to all the science and research and I actively eat it up. I just love knowing that, there's interventions that studies do to show how good baby wearing is, even in just the first month of life. We are introducing kids into caregiving and their expectation of being carried is being met. Um, there's studies that show that dads also benefit and the amygdala in the brain, wires and fires and gets really excited to be able to be a part of responding to baby's cues.
I know for me, as I started having more and more children, I started wearing them more and more. And more because like I needed my hands free was a big reason. With my first, I can remember it being such a learning curve of like how do I put this on? How do I make sure that they're safe? We're going to talk a little bit about that here shortly. And just getting comfortable with wearing her. But I definitely didn't do it as much with her. But then once baby number two came, and then baby number three basically lived in that thing, in that carrier, because I had to cart around the other two. And so it was just easier for my hands and freedom to be able to do that. But even though that was the primary reason for a lot of the times, I wouldn't say every time that I was wearing them, that the transport and just having my hands free was the primary reason. I too notice all those other benefits of, oh, they're nice and calm here. I don't have to try to keep them bouncing or keep like holding them or now I have to switch sides or now I can't sit down anymore. I have to stand up. We know what babies are like. So that in amongst just the calmness, being able to fall asleep in there. I know some people are skilled at feeding their babies in carriers. I never got to that point. But anyway, I saw the benefit to me came after actually using it for that transport or for the hands-free. And then you start to be like, oh, the baby really likes it too. And this is a nice, quiet, comfortable place we can hang out and bond and be together. So such a wonderful thing. And why I love that there's people like you out there that are actually educators in this and have some training and can really share more of this.
I once did an entire talk on baby wearing and my introduction was all on touch. Touch, it's that simple. The sensory system of touch is the first one that we continue to develop outside of the womb.
Mm.
And, of course there's smell, but you're also wearing a baby that's next to you and you're within scent of them and they're within scent of you. And everyone chills out with that, touch, sense. They are able to relax. We are able to relax. And what's happening scientifically is that we're sharing a lot of that oxytocin and prolactin, even for breastfeeding. Breastfeeding rates can absolutely be supported by baby wearing. there's so much to support, and even complement things like tummy time. If your baby hates tummy time, we know the full picture of tummy time is going to be complemented. I couldn't help but listen to, and I have been listening all along, Ashley, to many podcasts before, but I made a whole list of, oh, this relates and this relates and this relates. And whether it was, one of your first podcasts that talked about attachment parenting, sure, but also things where you're talking about the mental well-being and postpartum wellness. And there's
Mm,
so much in infant development that they are responding to us. We are responding to them. And baby carriers might just be, a device that holds the baby next to us. But the benefits far
hmm.
what's happening in the transport.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Um, how about let's talk about the different kinds of carriers or ways to wear your baby because there are several different types. And that's something I get questions about in prenatal class is like which one is for what ages, or maybe you're going for a long walk versus hanging out at home. Does it matter? So can you talk us through what the different types are?
It does help. It might not matter. What we're doing when we're choosing a carrier is that we're trying to mimic how the baby likes and prefers to be held. So when we're creating that position in the carrier, we are bringing baby onto our body. And no different than how you've started and ended your day and maybe chose a different pair of shoes. I love this analogy.
Hmm.
um, we might choose a different carrier for the thing we're going to do and use a carrier for. When I get up in the morning, I may choose a stretchy wrap for my newborn. I might put it on myself, just as we talked about yesterday. We're preparing the carrier. It's already ready before I pick baby up. It's on my body. Then I'm bringing baby to my body and I'm putting them in the carrier. So I'm tightening around them and so on. But when we're choosing those different types of carries and types of carriers, you may find that you really want to have a stretchy wrap because the postpartum stage is lovely. You will probably also really like something like a ring sling. It's a different learning curve, it's a different position, but there might be more positions a ring sling offers you for a baby who only wants to be held one way or another.
Mm,
Then there's soft structured carriers and a hybrid mix of May-ties. And those are, panels with straps for the shoulders and straps for the waist. And that's where it kind of gets into, oh, okay. And then there's frame backpacks. But there's three
hmm.
or four types of carriers, and there may be three types of carriers in your day that you like to use too.
Yeah, totally. I know personally, I loved and it is a personal preference. Like you said, it's like choosing what shoes you're going to wear. I really enjoyed the stretchy wrap, that really long piece of fabric that you wrap around your body. It took definitely more than a few tries to like get the hang of how to do that without a video and all the things, but so comfy, like you said, early postpartum, like for my body to have something softer, and baby's nice and little and can crawl up and just be right by you on your chest. I really appreciated the carriers that had the back support with them when I was, say, going for longer walks or things like that. But it might have to do with how heavy your baby is, how old they are. So finding one that works for you, they don't all work for all families. Because you mentioned the ring sling. Let's talk about that one for a second because I tried so many times. I probably should have come to see you, but I could not get the hang of that thing. But I know some people that is their favorite. And maybe it is because of a particular position. There's different positions you can use with that, right?
The ways that I like to carry my infants, I love a ring sling. Someone handed me a baby in the store and they needed to go do anything, I would reach for a ring sling first because it's the fastest to put on and take off. And so that fastest being the fastest way for a baby to kind of settle and into your body and just relax.
Mm-hmm.
But a stretchy wrap is fabulous, and I love it for postpartum because specifically postpartum early months is because it's so easy to have three passes around the baby that feel really secure, and that hold feels instantaneously great. Um, for everyone. It's kind of like that swaddling effect that baby gets, just like
Mm.
a hug. And the parent gets a little bit of a, wait, I can relax my shoulders for the first time. I feel so locked up in breastfeeding and feeding and holding a baby all day that,
Oh,
that
it can feel so freeing when that happens. Yeah. Looking for the best for your baby? Atlantic Canada's Baby Store is here for you. Nurtured, which is right here in Halifax, Nova Scotia, has the best products for baby. The staff are so incredibly helpful, and they have the most top-rated car seats and strollers you won't find anywhere else. So whether you need expert advice or the perfect baby gear, Nurtured's got you covered. And guess what? Nurtured's giving Bringing Up Baby podcast listeners an exclusive deal. Get 15% off your order from nurtured.ca when you spend a minimum of $75 using code BUB, B-U-B. Brand exclusions apply, valid now through till November 30th, 2024. Nurtured, supporting your parenting journey every step of the way. Can we talk about ways to wear baby safely? Because I know there are some particular points to make in terms of we want to make sure that the baby is comfortable, but we want to make sure that they're also going to be safe in there. So what would those points be that you would think are really important to share on that?
Well, we are mimicking the hold. So there is a capacity to, worry or be concerned about the safety, convenience, what it looks like. There's a few letters I might even give to listeners that they can keep in mind for that reflection of when they're looking in a mirror. I always say a mirror is your best friend. But you should also know that, the carrier is tight. The baby's in view at all times to you as the wearer, as well as other people around you. They are close enough to kiss. They have kept their chin up off their chest in that position that we've secured. And they have a high supported back. So, when we're looking at an infant, that position might look very different than a child who's a bit more mature, like 3 months, and of course 6 months, and definitely a year and 18 months. And we are still typically wearing kids at 2 years and above. And they look, they might look like they're in the exact same position in some way, that they're koala grasp and, clinging into us. But it's a little different what we're doing with their head, their neck, and their upper back. And so we're giving more consideration to those young infants and that positioning right away. So I always like to say that airway is open and protected. So ABC, airway, breathing, circulation, that's key. And we talk about how the carrier holds baby high and tight and close in. We're moving as one unit. The baby also, what we're wearing, especially here in our 4 seasons in Canada, they're not in danger of freezing or overheating. The carrier is another layer, but you're moving maybe as the wearer, and your baby probably isn't moving as much. So we're pausing, we're touching base. For as much as babies don't really sweat, you're feeling the back of their neck. You're making sure that you're kind of giving them cues to respond to. And I talk a lot about little bum lifts and squeezes of the thighs and touches on the feet, which is all just reaction for
Yeah.
reflex. Also, we want to make sure the baby's head is not completely covered. A lot of times when we're going out, baby may only need a hat beyond that carrier extra, but they are not going to be completely covered. I still want to see their nose, their mouth, their chin. And if you are learning breastfeeding and baby wearing, I always say you're learning them separately, but you're going to reposition your baby after breastfeeding in a carrier. And that may come as common sense, but you may also be like, they're just so happy. After feeding, pick them up, burp them, move them. So rightfully so, we're going to move them away from a breastfeeding position and put them back into a carry position.
That's if you're one of the lucky ones that are able to figure that out, because I wish I did. It would have been so convenient when you're out and they're in the carrier, you could just do it. But
Those are
good
both
point to
skills.
make.
Those are
What's
both separate skills.
Yeah, they certainly are. And putting them together is a whole other ticket. But
And
good point though. Like any time when we see the baby is nice and sleepy, when they're in the car seat, when they're in your carrier, and we need to reposition them though when we're in a safe space or when they're done feeding for that. So good point. If you're looking at starting solids with your baby soon, I highly recommend checking out My Little Eater's baby-led feeding program. With their signature texture timeline, which isn't available anywhere else, they teach you about progressing from easy to advanced textures at a pace that works for you. Plus, their online course covers everything you'd want to know about feeding your baby from 6 to 12 months, from how to prepare and the supplies that you need, to what foods to serve, what to avoid, choking hazards, managing gagging and choking, balancing plates, introducing allergens, and so much more. The best bang for your buck is definitely the baby-led feeding program and 60-day meal plan bundle, which gives you day-by-day perfectly balanced meals to offer your baby, all developed by their team of local dietitians. And for Bringing Up Baby podcast listeners only, check the link in our show notes and use code BIRTHBABY for 20% off their products.
We do want to make sure too, and you'll see the big kids really relax, that their legs and their bum and their thighs, they're in a relaxed spread squat position. Nothing we forced, just something they have, dropped onto our body and relaxed into that position.
Perfect. And by the way, for all listeners out there, this is some of these points that we're making, that Jolyn's making, really would be so helpful to have a visual. So we have you covered on that. Jolyn and I recorded, well, mostly Jolyn really recorded some baby wearing tips and tricks and troubleshooting stuff that we're going to have up in our Bringing Up Baby community for free for everybody to access. So it'll be a complement or a supplement to this episode. But I kind of want to wrap up a bit by talking about, which we do get into some troubleshooting in the video I just referenced, but what can parents do if they find the baby doesn't like the wrap or the carrier? Because that's probably the main complaint or note that I get about them. As a sleep consultant, sometimes I'm really promoting things like that, of just talking to parents of new babies, that wanting to look, maybe to be able to put baby down for a nap, but that baby won't stay down for a nap. They want to stay close by. This is when wraps or carriers can be super helpful. But if the parent's not feeling confident or comfortable, or they think the baby doesn't like it, what do we say to that? How can we help them, aside from them going in the community and watching the video later?
This is exactly where a baby wearing educator comes into play.
Yeah.
It's hard to be home alone with a baby and have them not like the carrier, which you've hoped is the best tool that you have for being hands-free and moving about your day. And so I always do say, this is going to be a practice. For a baby that doesn't like it, let's get really curious. Is it positioning? This is where I said I can share a few letters too. When I bring that baby onto my body, how am I using the carrier? Am I trying to put them in the carrier, or am I trying to put them on my body? And there's a very big difference. It seems subtle, but there's a very big difference when you're doing one versus the other. So prepare the carrier, bring baby to your body, then figure out what tiny little minute tightening things happen afterward. So you're not putting baby into a carrier and fussing with the effect of what a carrier, interaction is. You're just putting them on your body. And I think that's the best view that we can share. But also stand in front of a mirror, obviously a safe surface in front of you. So we have, a space where you can see, okay, mechanically, when I just bring my baby onto my body and hold them in the position that I would like them to be in the carrier, or the carrier defines they have to be in. What does that look like? And just stand there in the mirror and see what it looks like. And that's what we're trying to mimic. So now I have the carrier on, and what that position of, I bring baby to my body, and I've shown you this, Ashley, yesterday, and I do talk about it a lot in the store as an educator, but we're bringing baby into a burp position. Try that first. Then bring them from that burp position into the center of your body. Tummy to tummy is a great one to try, because almost all carriers will start with that position as, try this one first. And though there might be other carriers from, facing in, facing out, on the hip, on the back as kids age. That position, chest to chest, is just a really nice one to check in with. And if your baby doesn't like being on your body chest to chest, that's okay. It might just be 15 minutes of calm, and swaying, and just checking in. So, maybe their foot, or their thigh, or their hands, maybe they don't like how they got pressed into you. So you might sway a little longer and then bring the strap up around you, the two of you.
Hmm.
So there's just a little bit more respect when we pause and see what the baby does or doesn't like. What's their expectation as they're coming onto my body and I'm bringing a carrier around their body. And that's just a
Mm,
little bit of a reframe for how are you treating your carrier? How are you introducing your carrier to your baby? And what we can do maybe a little differently. In that mirror, the position they're ending up in, I still want to see a nice shape of like a letter J where the carrier body's tucked underneath their bum and under their thighs, behind their knees, kind of that spread area. And
hmm.
it's protecting their back in that upright portion of the letter J. And then where I talked about that spread squat position, that's more like the letter M. So we're seeing the knees are up higher than the tailbone. And just in that position of holding a baby and supporting their back, you'll see they instinctively draw their knees up and their tailbone drops down low. And that is a really nice position. We know it as adults. Sit in a hammock and chill. Um,
Yeah.
but how nice that carry reaction is where we're being transported on our, caregiver's body, the wearer that we trust and love, and we can listen to their heartbeat and the tone of their voice and how they react to a dog barking and just settle in it. So,
Mm,
everyone's a little bit, my baby's not going to like this. I don't like this. Um, that might be the wrong approach, and just starting again and just getting
hmm.
is usually the next step.
Yes, keep trying. Check out our video because we you do get into some of that troubleshooting stuff, and if you find yourself where baby's not in a particular position to help fix that. Um, I just know for a newborn baby, and it takes months for them to even realize that they're their own separate human. So the wrap or the carrier should really or can be that extension of we, like you said, we're moving as one, we are one being. And that's a big reason why they're so comforted there. They often get some skin to skin from their cheek on your chest or something. They're bopping around with you, and it helps to promote brain development as they're doing that. It might lull them to sleep. They're where exactly where they want to be, but you still get to have your hands free or maybe just to enjoy the carrying. So I just know that that can be such a good an important point to make that your little one doesn't even realize they're a separate person from you. So being that attached to you is not spoiling them. It's actually promoting all these things that we want out of our kids, right?
You don't have to practice attachment parenting to enjoy baby wearing at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
It's one part of it, but um, it's a separate. You're not building their dependency on you. What you're doing is reinforcing how they interact and respond. There's much more of a nervous system response. Studies show there's a cardiac response. Um, there's, there's a really great quote. I know I have it here. It's lovely. Yeah. Dr. Eckhard Bonnet. So in 1998, this was published, and it says the carried child develops greater physical strength, stator motor development, vestibular abilities, balance, skeleton, including cartilage, tendons, connective tissue, greater nerve strength, coordination, sensory awareness and digestion, greater physiological strength, self-assurance, frustration tolerance, deep trust, creativity, greater social strength, and better ability to integrate. He was a specialist in pediatrics and youth medicine. And so you don't even have to care about attachment parenting to be a parent and listen to those stats of let's give my child that better window of opportunity in responding to how when I move left and they have to move left too in this baby carrier, they are getting greater strength. They are being well supported. We are meeting their expectations of how to grow and be healthy and interactive. There's so many beautiful things. It's baby wearing so much more than a trend or a fashion statement. And the baby carriers are certainly providing a lot in
Mm,
welcoming them into your everyday. And I love
mm.
being introducing them to people and parents.
So, absolutely. I love it so much for the babies, but I have a particular soft spot. I love it for the parents. Like you said, mom or dad, caregivers, anyone. it's going to help your mental health and well-being. If only because you now have your hands free, that you don't have to be stuck on the couch all the time. I say stuck, like who doesn't love a contact nap? I love it all. But there are those practical sides to it too, that it can make us feel a little bit more like, okay, I can get up and do some things, and my baby's happy and I'm happy, and I'm helping promote their growth and development in our bond, while I also get to be a little bit more like myself and get out and enjoy this day. So it's really helpful for the whole family,
Mm.
in my opinion.
I think, and I hope we're connecting the dots for people in that capacity. Um, the the US just had an article coming out that parents are the most stressed than they've ever been, right? And a baby carrier can help. The first time you put on a carrier and feed yourself breakfast and have gone through a morning in a different way, your baby's being held. They're in a happy place. All of their needs are being met. And now your needs are met too.
Game
Every,
changer.
yeah,
Yeah.
everyone's.
Yeah. Oh gosh, love it. Well, this has been lovely, Jolyn. I really appreciate all your insights and knowledge with this, and with the video that we did as well. That's going to be in our community for people to watch to get more of the visuals that you're talking about. But is there anything else you'd like to share in terms of the baby wearing world, or anything else before we part ways today?
If people are listening to this and they're wondering, how much do I need to practice this? I would certainly encourage you 20 to 30 minutes every day. Just try it. It's going to be a game changer, like you said, crying less, um, just being so connected in so many different ways. I do think that there will be people who listen to this too, Ashley, who, I want to be a baby wearing educator, and I'd highly encourage it. Please join the cause. And I know I have a few links on our website under our baby wearing 101 section, which is a great read of those different types of carriers. But there's also links and hyperlinks to the Center for Baby Wearing Studies, where I did my schooling. And there's so much more to be done. I love being a part of that group. And they're doing more in science through the last decade that I've been a part of the education. And we're seeing more inclusion of baby wearing in studies. So
Amazing. Amazing. So that's accessible on your website. You have the
Mhm.
baby wearing spot. Perfect. We will link to that in the show notes. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today.
You're welcome. Happy baby wearing.
If you're looking for more information or support along your parenting journey, check out birthbabysleep.ca. That's where you're going to find prenatal classes, postpartum and new baby resources, and sleep support during the childhood years. Lastly, but certainly not least, if you got something out of this episode or our show in general, leaving a rating or a quick review goes a really long way to helping others find us. So please consider leaving one. That's all for now. I'm Ashley Cooley, and we'll see you back here next time.